My father, the real Edward VIII, making his abdication speech in 1936. Now, this is the double, one of them, that married Wallis Simpson in 1937 and became the illegal Duke and Duchess of Windsor. My father never married this American spy. Double did. And I want to say this. I was listening to one of it was George Norrie, Coast to Coast. And he was talking to someone, and they were so mentioning doubles and more doubles for Hitler. My father, I wonder if the truth's ever told about Hitler, if he was programmed. I don't know. But my father was a decent man. He was married to my mom, Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, Windsor. She was queen in 36. My father abdicated in December because of character assassination. This man did antics, if you want to call it, or crimes, that people thought that were attributed to my father. And somehow, if you can, you should get a copy of all this, and you'd see just how much lies. We're supposed to wait to be opened in 100 years. Let me see if I can find it. But somehow it was opened. I don't know if they opened it, but it was put 1/30 of 03, I believe. Yeah, 2003. This is Larry Flint, and the reason I'm putting this is, he was shot, and people know it, in Lawrenceville, Georgia in 1978, and I was doing a book on medical malpractice and mind control, and they were done in patterns, the murders, and it goes back to the Tesla files, and where they can create an illness or cure it. The files were stolen. And you can make people appear to die of natural cause, and you appear to have committed suicide when it's murder by mind control, putting chips in your root canals, etc. One of the doctors was Larry McDonald, congressman doctor. And Mr. Flint says I knew who was responsible for his shooting there. Now, this is my uncle in 36. George, the illegal six. He's here with Mrs. Roosevelt, Roosevelt's mom, and Elizabeth's mom, who's a Rothschild, and Roosevelt, who appointed John Kennedy's father, Joe, as ambassador to England 36 till 46 when they kicked him out. He helped in my kidnapping. The Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers. This is my dad, the real Edward VIII. I don't have a picture of my mom. She's sister Claudia to Georgia O'Keefe. This is Tim McVeigh. He told everybody he had a chip put up his buttocks by the U.S. Army. He was put to death for the Oklahoma City bombing. By the way, a Ryder truck was used there instead of a Home Depot. Here is the implantable biochips. This is by Tex Mars, and it was given to me, the book, and I don't have the book anymore. It's called Project Lucid. It's about the Illuminati. And Freemasons, they're all the same. And they're talking about the end times here in chipping, and you have to have a chip as in the Bible to transact anything, food or anything. I don't know what I can say this morning because I'm going to say this, that Jens Orens, the judge that presided over that murder case, Sweeney, died about 2 weeks ago. I wouldn't have heard about it if I had something radio on and heard something about it. But anyway, that's the one where, can't think of his name now. The one that was on I'm pretty sick this morning, to say the least, where Hillary Clinton had him as VP, and I should know his name. He's a Democrat, House Representative, yeah. But anyway, he was, when his tenure was up as governor, he was going to allow Jens to go back to Germany. Jens' father was a diplomat at the time, and they're dead now, I believe, both his mom and dad. Elizabeth Haysom, her family, these are good kids. I mean, really. Elizabeth was Canadian. Her parents were Derek and Nancy Haysom. Now I'm going to turn this around. And they were murdered. And Jens and Elizabeth are in jail, in prison, and they did not do it. It was done, the murder was done in patterns, and they flat didn't even do it. By the way, it was overturned by Governor MacDonald, Donnell. So Jens is still in, I think, Buckingham State Prison. Now then, I'm going to put this up. I think I am. They're talking about, well, first of all, let me say this. They're talking about Trump and Putin. Every little thing, chance they get, they're putting him down. I hope he's not a part of the Illuminati. I don't think he is. I certainly hope not, because the press wouldn't be after him, I don't think. Press is controlled by him. There's a blackout on me, and the takedown of my father, and the invasion of the UK and Britain and the United Nations, and the Jews went back to Israel. Now then, people think that's okay. It was after I was kidnapped and after they took down my father and my mom. So I wanted to come back to this, if I can get back to it, because I am really sick from inhaling the stuff that they've had in the rooms, and that, and I've been in, anyway, I'm not even going to say it because I've put it up. I'm allergic to chemicals, and my immune system attacks itself if I'm around toxic fumes, and these are beyond killing me just about. So I wanted to get back to what I was going to say, and I can think. Anyway, when they talk about interfering, Russia interfered in the U.S. elections, you got to be kidding me. If they tell this whole thing before I die or even tell it, you got the monarchy, Tsar Nicholas and his family were murdered and burned. And it was the trying to overthrow the Soviet Union by the Americans. Tell you who was part of it, if it's ever told. He's right up here in Stanton, and that's Woodrow Wilson, Woodrow Wilson, the president. Okay, next door in Charlottesville is where Anastasia was murdered by the Blue Ridge Mental Health. May the 4th of 1984. Now, they've changed the dates, and they say she died of something else at something Washington Hospital there, Martha Washington Hospital. Fact of the matter, there's a whole story, and I had the papers on it, court documents on it that have not been, nobody will touch those in the Charlottesville court documents. Well, I've lost them now. I Xeroxed them, everything. And anyway, Anna was Anastasia, and in it, Manahan was a professor at University of Virginia. They lived in Scottsville, outside Charlottesville. Again, there's my son's name, Scott. And then a attorney who had no right, just for the hell of it, went down. His name was Preston. So you're getting in, and Althea was the woman that ended up with all their land and real estate and helped in doing it to Anastasia. Her name's Althea, as in Althea Flint, that died. Larry Flint's wife, in about 87, I think she died in May. And I did meet her when I was out there. So I've given you enough background to, they did kill Anastasia. And they tried to take what few belongings she had, and Althea, the real estate dealer, ended up, I believe I'm correct, with most everything that Anna had and her husband, Manahan. So I'm going, but an attorney who had no right whatsoever filled out papers and had Anna hauled off, and she was killed, murdered, and it was Anna. So when you're talking about interfering in another country's election, look what you did, and that's just one of the examples. You've got me, over here what you haven't done to me and my sons who are heirs after me. Um, it's so sick. My hope is that it's all spread across the whole world and they have to see just who you are, America. And you talk about somebody else interfering in your political system, my God. Now then, I don't know what else I was going to say. I'm so sick. I have to leave in the morning, and because I can't take this anymore, and they've deliberately done this to me. I've put it up, and man, when you start telling what people do to you in this whole mess, like the Dempseys who killed the twins and gave me the name when I was kidnapped in 41, brought over here by JFK was part of it, kidnapping me. The Illuminati, his dad's part of it. Rockefeller's Rothschilds was ambassador to England and helped in my kidnapping. And now I'm going to forget. I'm so sick. Anyway, they brought me there, and Lionel Dempsey, the twins were killed. They gave me the name of Peggy and stole my identity. And they get mad at you when I found out about my real name and everything in 83. And I even had birth certificates of Peggy and Carl that were blatantly marked through by the state of Alabama. And they put the date of birth that had been given me when I was brought over here. It's my understanding the twins, and that's illegal to do that, but the state of Alabama did it. So, anyway, I could keep on going. I have an autoimmune disorder, and what's happened to me the last years is, first of all, when I came to Roanoke, Mr. Flint furnished me a car for a year, and I haven't heard from him again. But I don't know, I'm so sick. I came up to Roanoke and couldn't get jobs. I lived on the Appalachian Trail, and I know I'm redundant because you have to give background for someone to know what you're talking about. I froze and starved, and when I say that, I mean it. I have been run like a scalded dog from here to there, begging. And then somebody said, well, you're made to feel humble. Well, I wonder when humble pie ends, when I'm dead, and why am I having to feel humble? And when do you think it's I've had enough of being starved and frozen and every law in the book. I have no civil rights. When they talk about Selma, Alabama, and by the way, I want to get to Alabama. You know, George Wallace was shot by a program shooter up in Laurel, Maryland. That can be proven. And Lina Dempsey, mother of the twins, was there in Laurel, Maryland when he was shot. And she shows up in all these things, like she was with Senator John Sparkman, U.S. Senator, who was a part of my kidnapping, wheeling and dealing after I was kidnapped, all right? Very much so. And she was doing, I guess, a companion aid type thing, which she was on disability, and she's broken every law other than killing her twins and the family covering it up. And what she did to me later, trying to kill me, is a sick joke. And you talk about, I thought Jeff Sessions, when he became U.S. Attorney General, might do something about all the laws, at least in Alabama. I don't know. Then you've got Shelby from Alabama, U.S. Congress. He certainly knows. Now you've got the man from Gadsden, which is right next door, Mower. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. And they're saying that's fake news. Now, isn't it funny that fake news was coined by Zuckerman, Facebook, which I put everything on too. I didn't know he was Rockefeller's grandson, and he intends to run for president. But he and Obama got together a year and a half ago, and this is when they started talking about fake news. Wonder if it had anything to do with me putting up my kidnapping and about Rockefeller and this whole mess. And I've been putting that up since 2012, all right? And I couldn't have made it up anyway. That's the sick joke. So everybody's going to use fake news, and I don't know if Mr. Mower if any of that's true or not. But I'm going to say this. He said something about who remembers 1979. Well, I do. Thank God I have it right at the moment. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep it if this keeps up what they're doing to me now. But that's when I got the letter from the U.S. Attorney's Office, June the 23rd of 79. Ongoing investigation, national security involved. And I do know what a seal was put on Victor Gonzalez. He has a son that's in practice too. And the man was, he was at Parkwood in Atlanta then, Cliff Valley Way. But he was in Huntsville. It's almost tracks laid down. He was at Redstone Army, and then he was formerly at Dallas at Parkland, where John Kennedy was taken in when he was shot. And it's my understanding, I guess you can check it out, he was interning, and that he was on duty. Now, I don't know if that part's true, but he was there interning. Now then, he shows up in Huntsville when I'm there. He shows up in Atlanta, they used to call it the Twin Towers, where they had the, across from Lenox Square. And what that man did, there was a seal put on. And I do know that Mr. Flint knows about this too. He said he knew everything there was to know about me, and that they were going to send me back a vegetable. And that's when I first met him in '83. So he knows about this, the seal being put on it. And you talk about a horror story. All these women have jumped in and claiming all this, and it may be true. But not one of them in this whole time. My ex-husband at the time was going to NOW, which is now the women's back then. Went to everybody. You know, the only one that offered to help back then, and then they had a plane go down, was Hugh Hefner. Arthur Kretschmer was on his staff, and it was on like the inside of the front of Playboy magazine, where his name showed up as, he's part of the staff, upper staff. But that's all I'm going to say other than as far as here. I wonder how long that people get mad when they've committed crimes against you, and you can't get an attorney, but you're able to get it on YouTube or Facebook, and enough that people know you're telling the truth, you couldn't make it up. But then they get mad like the Dempseys. When I put it up, found out about it, oh my God. And then you had, I'm going to put her name up, Patricia Ann White. She was a Dempsey, cousin to the real Peggy. And I liked her growing up. So it kind of shocked me. Jean, and I don't know if she's still alive, she was a couple of years ago. She's the twins' aunt. She was sister to Lina. Well, she called me, got my number and called me. And man, they get upset when you start putting the truth up. And you know, the strange thing is they never once told me my real name. You think I might like to know that I was kidnapped and who my parents are? Instead of they tried to kill me. Plain and simple. So I'm going to say this about Patricia. She was, I think she had her RN, I'm not sure. She was over something to do with the health department there. And she lives up near Sheffield, I believe. And she had her home that only she lived in. And she could have offered, I did talk with her a couple of times, and the last time I talked to her, or texted her, she said, well, she was going away. She'd retired, but she was going to go away. And she knew that I needed a place to stay, to live, what was going on with me. And her response to me, I didn't ask about the house. She knew I needed something, and I was looking for something. What else do I have to do, beg these people? She said to me that somebody had come to the home